Hi, everybody. So, we are definitely in a season of blessings. I'm learning that when it seems like hope is lost, that's the time when God is doing the greatest things. Um, I just believe that Jesus is in our lives and that He doesn't want us focusing on anything that will cause our faith to be diminished or to be dimmed in any type of way. When I went through my storm, I had like a lot of storms in my life. When I went through those storms, God was with me in those storms really, really, really heavy. I received miracles. I could see angels. Yeah, the demons were there, but that wasn't important. It was what God was doing in me. I remember one day I was at church and the presence of God was on me so heavy. Like I just did all these little weird things in my body because I could not handle that much power. When God comes inside of you, there is so much power, and your body can't handle it. And I would do these jerks or whatever, and I know a lot of people probably thought I was like off, or or it was a devil, but it wasn't. It was the power of God. And I remember the power of God was so strong. I saw Jesus walking down the aisle of my church. And his presence was so strong that I was trying to move. My body couldn't handle it. I was trying to move from his presence because the power was so great. But I saw him walking down the aisle of my church. And I remember my pastor, he was laying hands on people in the front. And when I went through my dark storms, God was there. Like God was there. And it's crazy that people don't realize that when Satan wants to get our focus off of stuff, it's because God has showed up in the earth so greatly. God is doing stuff in the spirit realm first, you guys. There's so much stuff that God is doing, and Satan has sent a big distraction. But I am telling you, keep your focus on God. Do not allow it to distract you. Yes, your enemies, they will put you in a lion's den. But don't worry, because God will shut their mouths so that you can live. When I tell you that God shows up in situations like this is like fertile ground, if that makes sense. This is like time for things to just get pregnant so you can give birth to things. This is a great time for us. And I'm telling you, when I was in darkness, this is why I can say this. When I was in darkness, and when I say in darkness, I'm not trying to say like when I was in sin. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when I went through my heavy storms of demonic attacks, seeing demons all the time, seeing witches, dealing with that because I had a fear of them, because in my family, especially with my mom, like she went through a lot of demonic attacks. And so, it was crazy that even, when I became born again, those same spirits, they attacked me. So, they would attack me all the time. And it wasn't until like, 2019, the middle of 2019, until right now, that I have a lot of peace in my life. I don't get all those attacks. And I thank God for, my pastor, for him praying for me and my family, and for God strengthening me in those times. But I'm going to tell you something, you guys. When I went through those attacks, I saw supernatural events. I could see like prophets, and I told you guys this before. I could see like prophets of God. They will come here, they will talk to me. Like people say, "Oh no, Quarters, that's not true." It is true. If you had experienced what I experienced, supernaturally having spirits mess with you throughout the night, waking you up, trying to torment you, stealing your sleep, God would never allow something like that to happen to me unless he had a plan behind it. And they were trying to stop the move of God in my life, because the move of God in my life was happening so strong. I became wise. I became knowledgeable. I became more humble. You know, I became more like Christ. And then I started to see like there were certain things about me that was not right. And it was not when I was in that situation. It wasn't until I came out. I was like, there's areas in my life that I had to change in. You know, but it wasn't like God was throwing that stuff up in my face. He was still sending Jesus. I saw Jesus. I saw when I was really down and out because it seemed like God didn't come through for me. I remember Jesus came to my job, and when he showed up, I was upset. And it was like I didn't give Jesus that attention that he deserved because I was so upset about my circumstances. That wasn't once, that was twice that happened to me. The first time it happened, I didn't see him physically, but his presence came here. I saw him through the spirit realm. And when he came, it was like he was telling me, like, Corliss, like, when I come back, I don't want to see you like that. See you all down. You know, it was like, that was my, I'm going to say it like this, that was my rapture. You understand what I mean? That was a time where Christ had showed up, and he probably wanted to tell me stuff or do something great in me, but I was so distracted because of all the problems that I was going through that I had possibly missed an opportunity where Christ and I could have had a conversation. I don't know. You know, and I remember a couple other times I've seen Christ. Like I can even describe how he looked when he walked the earth, because I saw what he looked like when he walked the earth. And it was just crazy that I just had so many supernatural encounters, but I had most of those encounters when I was in my dark place. And I'm telling you, anytime something is so ridiculously crazy and it comes out the blue and it's not what you expect, it's because God is doing something amazing. My pastor called it a OMG experience. And Satan is trying to block people from seeing it. He's trying to make it look, he's trying to put everybody's focus on this virus that they cannot see the power of God that's taking place, the power of God that's moving from the spirit. You guys need to focus your attention on God, focus your attention on faith, focus your attention on healing, focus your attention on the promises of God. Do not let the coronavirus and the news block you from seeing what God is doing for you and your family. It's time for you and your family to get closer while y'all in quarantine. And it's time for a great move of God through prayer. It's time for people to start taking up that sword of God and start learning how to use it. You see, when you get a sword, you have to learn how to use that sword in battle. Because if you don't know how to use the sword, the enemy knows how to use weapons. It's the church that don't know how to use weapons. And you don't focus on his skill. You focus on the skill that God has taught you. If God showed you to take the sword and you use it like this and you use it like that, you focus on God. Don't worry about him waving his nunchucks everywhere. And the reason why you cannot focus on the devil is because it'll be a distraction. Did you ever see like when some karate people, they take the nunchucks and they start waving them and doing all that stuff? All that stuff is performance. And a lot of this stuff that's going on, you see the devil waving his nunchucks in the air, and that could look scary for somebody who's waiting for their opponent to hit them. You need to know that you are so skilled that there's nothing that the devil can do to you. No matter how much he waved this bull crap up in the air, he cannot touch your family. Okay? God got us. And I don't even have to say that God got us, because you know he got us. But the whole thing, the part that I feel impressed to say, because I said, you know, okay, you guys, I got to say this. Yes, and I put this little snippet inside the video because I missed this part. But this is so important. You know, like, okay, I'm not married, but I got common sense through the Spirit of God. Sometimes when you're with your spouse, if there's a husband and a wife watching this, and sometimes you can tell that when your husband or your wife is in the mood. Well, because I'm single and God is my husband, like seriously, God is my husband. When I tell you God is my husband, God is my actual real live husband. Like no joke, like real husband. That's how good our relationship is. So, because God is my husband, I don't know what happened to the camera. Because God is my husband, it was like I could tell that God was in the mood. And what I mean by in the mood, I mean like he really wanted to talk to me. And I've been feeling this since this morning. I'm like, God, what do you have to say? What did you have to say? Because when you talk to God, that's like him planting his seeds inside of you and impregnating you with something. And that's when he showed me that he is doing something great in the earth. So there you go. And because sometimes if you focus on, not sometimes, but all the time, if you focus on the devil, then you will, then it will weaken you. It will weaken you and cause you not to be able to fight. And when I say fight, fight the good fight of faith the way that you should. Because God's weapons are more powerful than the devil's weapons. God's thoughts are more powerful than the devil's thoughts. Now, God might tell you to do something and you need to do it how God showed you to do it. Don't do it how the world is doing it. Do it the way God is showing you how to do it. You know, and I just learned that in these times, this is the time where we need to know that God has showed up in this world big time. You will never see demons show up like this strong, if it wasn't for God doing something great in the earth. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye, you guys.